Okay, this is a recap of the last lesson. In the last lesson, we look at the distribution of the natural vegetation, and as you can see here, these are the different types of natural vegetation. Okay, and we are going to concentrate on tropical rainforests. So mainly tropical rainforests are found in these areas, and we've talked about it in depth in the last lesson as to where they are found. Okay, so this is the tropical rainforest. Tropical rainforest. We saw this last week. We look at the structure of a tropical rainforest. So basically, the tropical rainforest is made of 5 layers, and these are the 5 layers: the emergent, canopy, understory, shrub, and forest floor. Okay, we'll be looking at it in more detail in this lesson. The tropical rainforest work together, all parts of it work together so that the rainforest itself can survive. And of course, natural vegetation is not the only living things in the tropical rainforest. There's a lot of species of animals as well. We discussed this in class. We look at the distribution of tropical rainforests, and I also taught you how to describe the location and distribution of tropical rainforests. Okay, so basically, just to recap, they are found near the equator. Okay, and in these continents, South America, Africa, and Southeast Asia. And then in particularly in Brazil, here, a large part of it is in Brazil, and then here in Congo and the various parts of Southeast Asia. All right. So in summary, this is the description of the distribution of tropical rainforests. So describing distribution of tropical rainforests, as mentioned, they are found in tropical equatorial climate in or near the equator, and it stretches between 23.5 degrees north and 23.5 degrees south. But most of it is between 10 degrees north and 10 degrees south. So in particularly, these are the countries in which you find your tropical rainforests. Okay. Now, this is a description of where they are found. If explanation is required as to why they are found here, then obviously we'll explain based on the climate. Okay, that this latitude is found in areas where there is high rainfall all year round and also a high temperature. To describe the climograph of a tropical climate, the climograph would look like this. Okay, the temperature and the rainfall, and precisely like what we mentioned, tropical rainforest is found in tropical climate where the temperature is high all year round. Okay, on average is between 27 about 27 degrees Celsius all year round, and high temperature total of about 2000 millimeter per year. Hold on here. Okay, we've already mentioned that there is a lot of tall trees. They are basically the highest layer is about 45 meter and more. Okay, and they are considered giant trees. And if there need to be an explanation as to why there is these giant trees, of course, you go back to the fact that they are found in tropical climate that provides the forest with enough water and high temperature to be able to make nutrients so that they are able to grow big and tall. All right. So this is what's mentioned. The hot, wet climate enables them to grow all year round. High temperature, as mentioned, is about around 27 degrees Celsius, and the total per annual rainfall of about 2,000 millimeter. And this forest remains evergreen. And this word evergreen actually means that they do not shed their leaves all at once. The reason why some forests, some trees shed their leaves all at once is because in that the forest itself is found in areas where there are seasons, like a dry season. So during the dry season, to conserve energy, the trees actually shed their leaves during that period. And those forests is known as deciduous forests. Whilst the tropical rainforest, they don't need to do this. They are known to be evergreen. Okay, now this is basically the structure of the forest. As you can see, there are 5 layers. The tallest layers is between 30 meters to 45 meters, and they are also known as the emergent layer. Between 15 to 30 meters is the canopy layer, and you can see that the trees here are shorter, obviously, than the emergent layer. And then we have 3 other layers, which is the understory, okay, the shrub, shorter trees, and then the undergrowth. So this is the dissection of a tropical rainforest. You will be able to see that there is these 5 groups of trees and vegetation. The tallest one being the emergent, canopy, understory, shrub, and undergrowth. And take note also of the height of each layer. Okay, let's go on into the emergent layer. Okay, so the emergent layer, being the tallest layer, is between 30 to 45 to 50 meters. And normally the trees are tall, obviously, and thick, and they have thick and straight trunks. Okay, so they go tall, reaching up for the. And then we have the canopy layer next. That's the middle layer, about 20 to 30 meters. In this case, this particular layer, it has a continuous leaf cover and makes it look as if it's like an umbrella, okay, umbrella shaped crown. So this layer actually blocks the sun from penetrating through to the lower floor of the rainforest. Okay, the next layer is the understory layer, and this is between 5 to 15 meters. As I said, the canopy layer blocks most of the sunlight from shining into the forest floor layer. As a result, this layer trees are narrower and narrower, forming an oval shaped crown because they do not get enough sunlight to produce nutrients for them to grow big. As a result, the trees are narrower. Okay. Then below that is the shrub layer, and this is normally between up to 6 meter high. And obviously, this particular layer is even doesn't receive even more sunlight. So at this layer, you do not find trees. In fact, you find plants and shrubs, okay, like tree saplings and woody plants. Again, for the same reason, because there is not enough sunlight, they can't make enough nutrients, and so they adapt to the environment that they are in. And lastly is the undergrowth layer. This, they grow up to 5 meter only. And the plant growth is actually very sparse because there's no sunlight. In fact, a lot of what you see in the floor of the rainforest are leaf litter or dead leaf. Um, Again, the main reason being the sunlight doesn't go down to doesn't reach the forest floor. Okay. Now, because of the circumstances that the forest is in, right? The top layer getting the most sunlight, but that doesn't mean that other plants doesn't grow well. In fact, these other plants on the lower layers adapt to the fact that they don't get the sunlight. What they do is they actually live on other plants. So there's a lot of epiphytes, which are plants which live above the ground, and they grow on trunks and the branches of other plants. So this is basically a parasite. Okay, and these kind of plant, they have aerial roots for them to take in water rapidly. So an example of this would be your orchids and ferns. Now, another type of plant that you can find a lot in the lower layers of the rainforest is your parasitic plant, epiphyte being one of them. Then you have those that are found, those that actually feed on the host trees. Okay, and then they strangle them because they compete for the nutrients from the host trees. This include your strangling figs. All right, and then leaf litter, as I mentioned. If you look at the diagram, these are what you see on the forest floor. There's a lot of it, of course, because the tropical rainforests have abundant amount of trees. Okay, so they shed their leaf at certain time of the year, and then they drop to the forest floor, forming the leaf litter, and then this leaf litter will decompose and form a layer of humus, which is actually also nutrients for the trees. So this humus, because of the great amount of leaf litter, there is a large amount of humus, and therefore these forests actually have plenty nutrients to support the large diversity of vegetation in that forest. Okay, because a lot of the floor of the forest is covered by the dead leaf, right? The topsoil of the tropical forest is of poor quality because there's leaching away of nutrients in the soil by large amount of rainfall throughout the year. Okay, so because of that, but luckily there is humus which provides the nutrients for the rainforest. Without the humus, the topsoil basically is not very fertile because it's always washed away by the large amount. Okay, now adaptation and characteristic of the plants. As mentioned before, the leaves are evergreen, the trees are evergreen, meaning that they don't shed their leaf at the same time of the year, and they are also largely hardwood. All right. Now, hardwood includes Meranti, Kapur, and Chengal. These are the names of the species of trees, and they tend to be hard, sturdy. Okay. The leaves, obviously, because there's a lot of rain and high temperature, they are larger than in any forest, in any other forest. Okay, and they also have other characteristic like it's being waxy with drip tips. Why is that so? Because there's a lot of rain in that forest, right? So the rainfall that falls on this leaf will be able to flow off the leaf and not accumulate on the leaf, causing the leaf to break from its branch. Okay. It also prevents bacteria from growing on them. And the leaf are obviously big and broad as mentioned because it maximizes the surface for photosynthesis. And another characteristic of the leaf is that it's thick and leathery. All right. The reason being is a rainforest is found in an equatorial area and is very hot area. So we want the forest need, I mean the plants need to withstand the heat of the forest. So thick and leathery surfaces allows them to. Now the barks and branches. The barks are thick, thin and smooth barks. Okay, because thin and it's thin because they don't need to protect themselves from the cold and dry condition, right? So naturally in forests that are found in a cooler climate, the barks will be thicker because they want to protect the trees from the colder climate. The tree branches are only 1/3 position of the trees. That means it's 2/3 of it will be the trunks, and the only 1/3 will you will see the branches because obviously they are reaching out for the sunlight. Okay, now we come to the roots. So it's in the tropical rainforest, the trees have shallow root and spread widely, obviously because they don't need to reach deep into the soil for nutrients and water. There is enough nutrients on the floor of the forest because of the humus that is generated from the decomposition of the leaf litter, and also there is enough rain, so it doesn't need to go deep into the ground. Okay, so that's what I said. High temperature and rainfall all year round, and there is leaf litter which decompose to form humus, and these humus are found in the uppermost layer of the soil. So the roots, basically the nutrients are found at the top layer, okay, of the. Okay, now for the roots. The roots are buttress, which looks like this. See, there is actually a lady standing there to show you the scale of the actual size of the roots. Why is it so huge? Is because it needs to support the weight of the very tall tree, right? Now, flowers and fruits. The flower and fruit it can happen all year round. It's not seasonal. Okay, however, the still air below the canopy layer does not allow for pollination to be carried by wind. So, therefore, the pollination is done in another way, and that's why you see many colorful fruits and flowers, because pollination is done by insect or animal. Okay, insects for pollination, animals for. Okay, diversity of species, of course, with the availability of a lot of high abundance of rain and temperature, there is many species of plant that can grow in this forest. So they don't grow in pure stands. What does that mean? That means the in one particular area of the forest, you don't have just one species of plants there or trees there. In one particular area, you can have many species found within that one area. Okay, so you, as mentioned here, you can typically find about 100 species within 1 hectare of land, because of course the availability of nutrients and all that. So as a result, various types of species can grow in that area. All right, and of course density is very dense, and they grow close together. um, okay, now this is a summary of what I have just mentioned. So these are basically the characteristics of the forest. The roots I mentioned is buttress root and its shallow spreading root system. They have different function, and they are like that because they adapt to the environment. Okay, so buttress root is they adapting to the fact that they are very tall, so they need the to be able to hold the weight of the tall trees. Shallow spreading root is because again a lot of the nutrients are found close to the forest floor, so the roots doesn't have to go deep into the ground. And then thick smooth bark, because of the temperature, it doesn't thin smooth bark, I mean it's because of the temperature, doesn't need to protect the tree from cold. Tall straight trunk, no side branches, as you can see, because this part is what do you call that? Because sun cannot go deeper in. I mean, the sun the heat reaches just the top layer of the forest, so there is no branches here. Okay. Thick waxy surface of leaf, as mentioned, also because it protects the leaves from bacteria and all that. And then the flowers are strong colored and scent because the pollination is by insect and animals. This is what I've mentioned in the last 20 minutes. Okay, and if you want to, not one, you are encouraged to go watch this video to know about the Amazon rainforest. In fact, your job now after listening to me is to go watch this video and further describe the characteristic of the Amazon rainforest, and also tell me the location, the size of the forest, and what are the various species that is found in this forest. Okay.